channel. So today I'm doing a Dollar Tree farmhouse decor DIY video, which honestly has been my most highly requested video since I started this channel. I love how everything turned out. Let me know down in the comments below which is your favorite DIY. So when I do another one of these videos, I know what track to keep heading down. So I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. If you do, please give it a thumbs up. Let's see if we can get this video to 5,000 likes. If we can get it to 5,000 likes, I will be sure to do another farmhouse decor video for you guys soon. Sorry, that noise is the heater. Thank you so much for watching. Now let's begin the video.
Let's start with my personal favorite, the window frame. We'll make the wreath first. From Dollar Tree, I purchased one of the Styrofoam wreaths. I don't recommend using the floral foam wreath for this because you'll be using glue to attach reindeer moss to the wreath. Floral foam absorbs glue easily, and if you use hot glue like I'm using, it will melt the floral foam, so it's better to go with the styrofoam that's much thicker. I'm just putting glue on top of the wreath and then placing moss on top of that. I do this till I get the top covered in reindeer moss. Then I flip the wreath over and I shake it to get rid of the pieces of moss that aren't attached to the wreath, because I don't want the wreath to be shedding all the time on me. After I shake off most of the excess moss, I then glue moss to the inner portion of the wreath and the outer portion of the wreath. I don't worry about putting moss on the back because you can't see that. If you want to put moss there, you can. I just didn't because you can't even see it. And I only used one pack of reindeer moss. Let's start to work on the frame. Pick up one of these garden fences from Dollar Tree and 6 of their 8x10 frames. To paint this, I'm using white chalk paint. I spray painted the fence with Rust-Oleum white chalk spray paint, and then I used Waverly white chalk paint, which I got from Walmart, to paint the picture frames. I used a makeup sponge I ripped in half to paint the frames because I like the texture it gives the frames. I pounced the sponge onto the frame rather than wiping it, that way I don't get streaks. Doesn't matter what type of paint you use, spray paint, acrylic paint, chalk paint, that's up to you. Now it's time to attach the frames. Use a heavy-duty glue to attach the frames to each other. You don't want this to fall apart on you, and it's more likely to happen if you're using regular school glue or not enough hot glue. I make sure wherever 2 frames touch, I put glue. Okay, now the little fence that I painted, it has these stakes that go into the ground and I don't want them on my windowsill. So what you want to do to remove them is just bend it back and forth, because this is going to help loosen it up, and then you can cut it with a scissor. If you have a really sharp scissor, you don't really have to bend it back and forth, but if you just have a regular crafting scissor, it's easier to bend it back and forth to kind of loosen it up, break that plastic, and then take a scissor and cut it off. Once the glue on the frame has dried, I flip the frames over and glue on the fence. This time I used hot glue instead of E6000 because I didn't want to wait for the E6000 to dry. So if you use hot glue to attach that, make sure you use a lot of hot glue. Now it's time to attach the wreath. I'm using Nautical Rope I got at Dollar Tree to hang the wreath. There's different ways you can attach the rope, but I didn't want any rope to cover the front of the wreath. So what I'm doing is I'm placing my wreath on the frames the way I want it to lay, and then I cut the rope to where it's long enough to be glued to the back of the wreath. To attach the rope to the wreath, I place a lot of hot glue to the back of the wreath, place the rope down onto the glue, let that dry, and then I apply a lot of glue over the top of the rope. That way there's something on the back of the rope that's stopping it from just disattaching. And that's it for the window frame. Now moving on to the flower holders. From Dollar Tree, you're going to pick up these white pillars. They also have them in black. Really doesn't matter what color you get. It's just easier to paint white. Also pick up a vase from Dollar Tree and paint it white. I'm using my white chalk paint to paint the vase, just because I like the texture and it matches everything else. Now I take Nautical Rope and I glue it around the top of the pillar. Now that I've got that rope on, I go ahead and attach my vase. I'm using a hot glue gun to do this just because I'm impatient. It's probably best to use heavy duty glue just because it will never fall apart on you. Even with the hot glue though, it adheres pretty well to this. The final touches to this DIY is just gluing rope to the top of the vase and then filling it up with whatever you like. I was just using some baby's breath, but you know what? It kind of sucked. The baby's breath died quickly on me. I love the look of these vases. I think they go along with the rest of the decor really well. Next, I'll show you how to make the candle pillars. Again, I'm using the pillars from Dollar Tree. If you want to make the entire set I did, you'll need 6 of these. Now I want to paint them. To paint them, I'm using apple barrel paints in antique white and territorial beige. I bought these at Walmart and they were only 50 cents each. I pour the paint next to each other, then dip a ripped makeup sponge in between the paint so there's one color on each side of the sponge. I then pounce the sponge all around the pillars. I don't mix the paint together because you get a better color and texture when you don't mix the paints together and just let them naturally blend. Some areas will have a bit more white paint and some areas will have a bit more beige paint, and this in my opinion gives it more of a rustic feel. It looks more like rustic farmhouse decor. It just helps it look more age. Now, to make the pillars taller, all you have to do is just glue the pillars to each other. Depends how tall you want them to be. If you want it to be super tall, you can glue multiple pillars on top of each other. All I did was make 2 of the pillars taller. So to one pillar, I just glued 2 pillars to each other. And the tallest pillar had 3 pillars glued to each other. And that was it for this. You just put your candles on top or whatever you want and you're finished. Finally, the farmhouse looking lantern. From Dollar Tree, you're going to want to pick up 7 of their 4x6 picture frames. There's a bunch of different 4x6 picture frames. I just got these silver ones. They also come in gold just because I like the thickness of them. Now you're going to want to take out the inside of it as you paint the frame. Now to paint the frame, I'm using the exact same colors that I used before on the pillars, except I do put a little bit more white, so it's a little bit lighter. Again, I'm using the makeup sponges to paint. They're easy to use and cheap to use, and I prefer to use the makeup sponges as opposed to like actual painting sponges because they're cheaper to get. You can get a big pack at Dollar Tree and just rip them. They get the job done the same way that the painting sponges do, except like I said, painting sponges get a bit pricier. Like you don't get as much bang for your buck as you do the makeup sponges. Especially when you're painting small things like this, they work perfectly. And again, I pounce the makeup sponge onto the picture frame to get the color and texture that I want, and I don't want streaks. If I was just wiping the sponge across the frame, I'm just going to end up with a bunch of streaks. After all my frames are painted and dried, I place all the contents that came with the picture frame back inside of the picture frame, except for that fake picture that it comes with. Now I'm gluing the picture frames together. I'm using a hot glue gun to do this. You can use a different glue if you want to. I wanted to use my hot glue gun because I got new glue sticks. I got the Gorilla glue sticks, and I really like Gorilla glue, so I've heard good things about the glue sticks, decided to give it a shot, and yes, they're really, really good. They're way better than just like the Dollar Tree glue sticks. You can tell the difference. You can tell that the glue is much more strong. So I glue 4 of the picture frames together to create a square, and then I glue a picture frame on top of that, which is actually going to be the bottom of this lantern. Now the frame doesn't match perfectly to the measurements of the 4 picture frames glued together. There's going to be a little bit of it still peeking out. You'll end up having to paint over that so it's not so obvious. To create the little X's that I have going through my farmhouse lantern, I'm actually using that piece of paper, the fake picture that the picture frames come with. There is white edges on the side of the main picture, and I just cut 2 little strips out of it, and then I glue that to just 2 sides of the square part of the lantern, and then I also glue them to the roof of the lantern. For the roof of this lantern, I take 1 picture frame and I put glue on the side of it. Then I take the other picture frame, hold both of them on top of the roof, and then I attach them to each other, but I attach them making sure they're going in an angle so it looks more like a roof. Once they are attached to each other, I apply more glue between the 2 where they meet just because I don't want this to fall apart on me. And then I just attach what I did to the top of the lantern, and then we have a roof for the lantern. At first I didn't know if I wanted the little X's to be on the roof, but then I decided that it looked better with them there, so right now that's what I'm doing. Now I'm going over that area that I told you from the picture frame that's on the bottom that's sticking out a little bit with paint to help hide it. And then you can fill this up with pretty much whatever you like. Now the only thing I will say, if you decided to keep the paper inside of there like I did, I wouldn't necessarily light a real candle in there. Like I put a real candle inside of it, but I didn't light it up. I would go more with an LED candle if you want that to glow, or the fairy lights, just because you don't want to set your house on fire. So that is it for this farmhouse decor video. If we can get this video seriously to 5,000 likes, I will upload another farmhouse decor video very soon for you guys. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you guys next time. Take care. Bye.